Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. And tonight's call, it's these labels, these energies, the shaman, the Christ, and the alchemist, igniting your higher calling. And just those three descriptions speak to my heart so deeply. In so many profound ways through various experiences that I've had traveling through sacred sites, through my own inner journeys, it's so pronounced. And I find that on the show, there's a lot of attraction towards that energy also, is like we magnify what we're resonant with. And if it's new to you, or some of these terms that we may be using, for example, the shaman, or if you deviated from the Christ consciousness that we were talking about so many years ago, and that somehow the conversation quieted about that. And of course, the alchemist, I would invite you to listen with fresh ears and participate on this call, because we have, I'll call her an expert. And she's so much more than that, but Dana's experience in the way that she articulates the consciousness that is available to us as we pay attention and hone in and access other places of dimensions that ignite these potentials within us as well. You're in for a tremendous treat this evening. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Dana in a second, but I also wanted to make you aware that Dana is also going to do an activation leading us into the Hall of Records in Egypt. And I just got back from a trip from there. So this is all so resonant for me, and you're not going to want to miss that. And with that, let me tell you a little bit more about Dana. So Dana is an award-winning author, speaker, healer, and mentor. And her latest book, the novel, The Third Muse, is a metaphysical time travel mystery set in the international art world that celebrates the divine feminine wisdom of the Magdalene, order, and the healing power of love. Her spiritual travel memoir, Sojourns of the Soul, One Woman's Journey Around the World and Into Her Truth, a gold winner in the Nautilus Book Awards, was inspired by her travels to many of the world's most sacred sites. Both books offer a heart-centered message for our time. Dana has also enjoyed decades of a long career as a widely published journalist, writing about culture, travel, spirituality for the New York Times, International Herald Tribune, the Chicago Tribune, Town and Country, Spirituality and Health, and many other well-known publications. And she's an amazing speaker and teacher and practitioner. And she goes into the Mystery School of Wisdom, where she conducts transformational talks and really takes us on sacred journeys as we listen and go through and receive the healing through her experience and her expression of her connection to this divine energy. And so again, it's going to be an amazing call today. I'm so glad that you've joined us. And Dana, thank you for being here again on Beyond the Ordinary Show. This was so good today.
Thank you, John. I always love being with you and your listeners. It's just such a delight. And I was really excited about the call tonight, because you and I both resonate a lot with these energies, as you said, the archetypes.
Yeah.
So
it's why the shaman, the Christ, and the alchemist?
That is a great question. It just kind of came to me, this topic. I've never done a talk on this, although I feel like all of my work is about these energies. These are the foundational energies and archetypes, which is a universal energy that we can all tap into. You know, Carl Jung brought us the concept of archetypes. And I feel that now, I mean, we know that this is such a powerful time and the energies keep accelerating. And of course, we're doing this call right before the full moon and right before the March equinox on Sunday. And tonight, interestingly, and this ties in with the three archetypes I'll mention in a moment, is the Jewish holiday of Purim, Purim. And that is a very powerful time of celebration for the Jewish peoples, because it commemorates a time in the ancient days when the Queen of Persia in about 5th century BC, she was a Jewish queen, intervened and saved her people from mass extermination. Now, of course, we're not talking about mass extermination, but we are talking about the end of an old paradigm, right? And the beginning of a new paradigm, the new earth energies. And I thought it was so appropriate to do this call on Purim. And in the story, I thought it was significant that her father, Mordecai, spoke to her and asked her a question. And he said, is it perhaps significant, something along these lines, that you attained royal position for just such a crisis? Well, we could ask ourselves now, ask all the light workers out there who do at various times embody the archetypes of the shaman, the Christ, and the alchemist. Ask all of us, perhaps we have attained a higher frequency and we keep moving, we keep growing for just such a transformational time. And these archetypes at this transformational time, I feel, are so important to connect. We all carry them to connect in with. So we have and I feel that we embody them, all of them in different ways. Some may be more pronounced than others. And I was thinking about in my work where, when I think about myself, I feel like the Christ, the Christed being, which has been modeled to us by the Essenes, by Magdalene, Yeshua, Anna, Mother Mary, the beautiful desert mystics and healers of ancient Palestine, who really did light a new way forward for us. That Christ presence, so embodied by them, is all about being the fully whole and healed human being of light, homo luminous, right? And the Christed being is what we all have access to because we all have the Holy Christ presence that is anchored in our heart center. And I feel like the Christ, which is when you are, at least let's say we're all moving towards that place of full healing and wholeness, you become less ruffled by external circumstances. You become more fearless, more immovable. You are completely aligned through your heart center with your Holy Christ presence and your immortal God presence, your I am, in direct connection with God's source. So I feel that the Christ underlies all of our work as light workers, almost as kind of an energetic foundation for everything else. And I'll let you go ahead because there's so much to say.
Well, no, there's a lot. And again, you talked a little bit about the Christ and what are the gifts of the shaman? And let's go through the gifts of the alchemist as archetypes also, because they're melding into something that's not separate. It's an accumulation of what we have access to.
Right. That's so true. And so as I was feeling into these, so the shaman and the Christ and the alchemist are all on the path of direct revelation, right? It is about fully owning our sovereignty, our true divine power and wisdom without looking outside of ourselves. No need for gurus. And I don't know if I mentioned, but the word guru, when you break it down, means G, you are you, we're our own masters,
Nice.
And so the shaman is a being of light who travels through non-ordinary reality, holding a higher frequency, just like the Christ archetype, to bring back information, which is light. Light is information. Love is creation. For healing and restoration of a community. So we could say that when we access the shaman within, we are using our multidimensional skills, right, to connect with the higher realms of light, to bring back information, flash light, for the healing and restoration of the world at large. The shaman is all about interrelation, connectedness, being fully divinely embodied, right, in the sacred ascension vehicle. So much of my work is about remembering to be divinely embodied in our bodies, because it's so easy to fly out through the higher energy centers, which is great when we connect with those higher realms. We want to anchor it in through this sacred vehicle. The shaman connects with everything, Mother Earth, the natural world, the rocks, the trees. You could be walking in nature, have a dialogue with the plants, with the snake, with whatever shows up in the moment. It is, I feel, all about wonder and awe and enchantment. That is the path of the shaman, right? cultivating balance and harmony within and without. So you're right, John, they do overlap and interweave. And we could say that they all ultimately reach the same state of being, which is wholeness, which is integration. So then we have the alchemist, and the alchemist, again, we all have this wired within us. The alchemist is a being who transmutes or transforms one substance, form, frequency, or state of being into another state, a higher state. So all of the light workers, I feel today, who are consciously working on behalf of the light, are alchemists in the sense that they are transforming energies into higher frequencies of divine love and light. And we are doing this for the greater good, in a sense of sublimation of the self, in the sense of someone might say a self-sacrifice, but in the highest sense, where we offer ourselves in service. We ask to be used as that pure and clear vehicle of light, the pure and clear Christed being. So, and the alchemist leads, as does the Christ and the shaman, through the heart. This is where they all connect, at the heart center, through love, which is, yeah.
Well, so we talk about that these archetypes, these energies are becoming even more available to us. How do we integrate these? How do we take this wisdom and actually apply it in our lives?
And apply it.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. So we apply it by being fully present in every moment. And when we're fully present, we're in that state of crystalline neutrality, which I've talked about before on the shows. That is so key to being of greater service, right? As light workers, as way showers of the new earth, to be in that state of crystalline neutrality where we are always observing and watching how we respond in every situation. Hey, we're all human. We can be thrown off center, but we simply notice and then redirect our attention to our heart center, which is the seat of our Christ presence and the launching pad of our ascension. Is really through this. This is an alchemical crucible, the heart, right? And people say, yes, but I want the roadmap. It happens naturally and organically over time as we continue to redirect our attention to our hearts so that we are unwaveringly focused on our God presence in direct alignment with the infinite I am in source. And that's what the masters told us. I said all these things, well, Yeshua said all these things I can do, you can do also. Sai Baba said, you want to produce the white ash? You can do this. The vibhuti that he used to produce, God bless Sai Baba, he's no longer with us in body. He was a Christ avatar. The whole point is to trust and to feel worthy. Feel worthy of being that shaman, the Christ, and the alchemist, all together.
Right.
Drawing on one or the other.
I think it's wonderful because it's, again, over the years, these energies, these, again, archetypes have been flowing, and again, personally in my life, in ways that there's just no denying it. And I'm much in the same way you are. We get to benefit from the fact that we're immersed in this on a daily basis, pretty much. So the reminder, the connection, the intimacy with these energies helps us to alchemize and to really accelerate a lot of the path. And so for y'all listening, this is why we have these calls, to remind you to keep you in resonance, to keep the practice, to keep it in consciousness, because it's so easy to get diverted into whatever's happening in other places. How is it that you help, Dana, people, again, be in the reminder of the alchemy that's occurring?
That's so true, John. It's a reminder because deep down, we all know this. And so, I may tune in. I'm really an open channel in terms of what's coming through me. I acknowledge that I'm not the one ever doing the healing. It is God's spirit working through me, working through anyone doing the healing. And it's about, like I said, I can't emphasize trust. trusting your own inner wisdom, allowing yourself to be and flow. You and I talked about the water and being Pisces and being able to flow through life and to flow into your gifts, higher gifts and powers, without, it's just simply a matter of stepping out of your own way. And if you need a physical reminder, I'm a visual person, so you could simply say to I am decrees, because that instantly aligns me and my attention on God. You could simply say, every time I get up in the morning, I am stepping to the right or the left, wherever, to step out of my own way. So your body becomes involved in the process. Simple, powerful practices. And I want to encourage people that there is no right or wrong way. No one has all the answers, and your imagination is your gateway to the higher realms of light. Trust your imagination. People say, well, how do I know I'm not just making this up? You are connecting to spirit through your imagination, And so I use my imagination a lot when I assist people in my healing work, in my writing, in my speaking. And you just begin to kind of just flow with the energies. And when you're present, when you're just focused in and through your heart center, it's a very childlike feeling. You're joyful, you feel more grounded, more balanced. You have a lightness of heart. That's the thing for all of us now, is to remind ourselves to be light of heart, to find and do what allows you to be light of heart, what brings you that joy, and to remember that so much of our sacred service mission now, I feel, for the light workers is, and I mentioned this on another show, is about the transference of light, which means being the light. It's not so much doing anymore. You want to find that middle ground between the being and the doing, right? But that means we have to polarize more to the being, because we've all been acculturated to do, to go out and make something happen. And this is where the divine feminine comes in. The divine feminine energies working through women and men to surrender, to trust, to allow and receive. It's the divine feminine energies that are assisting us on this ascension path, all of the way showers.
Well, it's interesting because when you talk about the shaman and the Crystalline alchemist, it's that they carry a masculine connotation to it, but it's not true.
Yes, very true. So it's important to remember, all the women out there, look at all of the goddess energy now that's seemingly much more accessible, more available, which has been embodied, especially by the Magdalene, right, who I work closely with. And she's been a big part of my work. And so many women and men tuning into this beautiful example of the fully self-actualized woman who is not afraid to be in her true power and presence, who was fiery by some accounts and speaking her truth. Or Yeshua would say to her, Miriam, speak in boldness, you who give light upon everything. He encouraged her to open, the throat and speak her truth. And so I feel like women in particular are healing this, and the direct energetic line to the sacral center and the throat, they are connected. And as one woman heals, all of the trauma that the divine feminine collective has endured through millennia, then we send ripples of healing and light throughout the entire feminine collective, and men too, who are connected with this inside, because this is about the integration of the opposites, the divine masculine, feminine, spirit and matter, heaven and earth, the light and the dark, everything that defines our earthly experience. So when we're walking that middle ground between being and doing, remembering to be more, if you're more accustomed to doing, then and being present and constantly shifting our attention back to our heart, dropping out of our heads into our hearts. This sacred intermarriage, this union of opposites, happens naturally. And this is this space, the unit of space from which the Christ, the shaman, and the alchemist work and make a contribution to the world, have an effect on the world. Mhm.
The sacred union is profound. It
Yes.
is profound. And I had an experience, it was about 8 months ago. And I've been immersed in the energies that were coming up for me and going through, I call it karma, and releasing limiting beliefs and stepping into different fields. And I had this awareness, and I had to reach out to a friend who I felt could hold the space. And she was, and I called her and I said, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to marry me to me.
Oh, wow.
And that, again, that Heros Gamos within, it's like, I need to be witnessed, and I need to say it out loud to somebody, so that that sacred union within
Yes.
can be ignited. It needs to be, it's not just like, oh, I've done it. It needed
No.
to be, it was ceremonially ignited is the best way that I can, yeah. So it's powerful, and it's not something that you can do in your head.
You can't.
It's organic.
It's so organic, right? And it's not, like I said, not a roadmap of specific steps. But
Right.
you brought up a very important point, is that having that witness, in that sacred container where two or more are gathered.
Right.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, it was powerful. So the fact that you bring this up, these aren't words that are spoken in the just in case we might be able to do it, and how do we recognize it? It's happening.
It's happening, right? It is, and it's happening through the alchemical crucible of the heart. And when I talked about being the light, it's not sending or receiving, because that's doing. It's emanating like a star, which is effortless, like water that flows effortlessly. And I just want to say that, I talked to a lot of light workers, which was another inspiration for this topic tonight, who have had their soul mission. They've been successful in the world, and now they're at a crossroads, and they want another way to move forward, to be of service, to find a new purpose. And that's happening at an even higher frequency, because so many of us have been working for years, right, to heal, to come into that sacred union, which is to become the full and complete unified Christed being. Now, we're all ongoing works in progress. At this crossroads, and especially now, because people are going to be meeting all of you who are listening out there, now more than ever, as the old paradigm dissolves before our eyes, the new earth takes root, which we will see more in the physical. I want to say and commend all of you listening tonight have been part of the group of light workers who have laid the very energetic foundation for this great shift of the ages to occur. And this has been happening over years, over decades. So the highest form of service now is being the light and the love, transferring the light effortlessly. You're not thinking about it. It's just emanating from you. And you do not, I want to say, need to have a public role to feel that you're being of great service. Some of the most powerful light work, and I talk to a lot of people, is happening behind the scenes in the proverbial cave of the heart, privately. Some of the most powerful light workers. So it's, however you are guided in this moment to release any emotional discord, any non-beneficial thoughts, because the mind agitates the heart. These triggers, these catalysts, we simply want to notice them. And the more we see how we respond, and I don't like the word react, the more we see how we respond in the moment, that gives us information, right? Those emotions give us information. We don't want to push them away. And we continue to refine ourselves like the ancient alchemists did with the transmuting the base metal lead into gold. Well, the lead is the lower, denser self. The gold is cosmic consciousness. So we are all moving through the great work of alchemy on this ascension path.
Amazing, amazing. Something that you wrote about in the bullet points, and it may be a silly question, but I'd really love your take on it because I feel there's an alchemy just in the awareness of the conversation. So I'm going to dare to go there. And we're going to get into the activation, into the Hall of Records here in a little bit and take some Q&A. So y'all are going to want to hang out. And Dana's special offer includes a session with her and some amazing journeys that you'll take with her as well. So hang out for that. We'll go through all of that on today's call. We've got plenty of time tonight. But I wanted to ask you, you talk about igniting your higher calling, and I really want to break it down.
Yes.
What is a higher calling and what's the lower calling? And how are we aware of the difference, or how can we be aware enough of the constructs of it? Because a lot of people, well, what's my purpose? What's my calling? I don't know what to do. So breaking it down, I think, would give us enough of a roadmap for any of us who are like, well, it kind of feels like this, but I wonder what is really unfolding in this.
That is a great question. Yes, and by higher, I didn't mean better. So higher calling is just another word for your purpose, your contribution. How can we, everyone wants to feel, and we should, every single person who is here, especially those listening to this call and all the people in your community, the great light workers in your community, have come to Earth from many other star systems. We talk about the volunteers, right?
Yeah.
And we are programmed to forget when we get here, when we involute into matter, right? And then finally realize that our mission is to evolve back to spirit. That's the great mystery of all the mystery schools. So the higher calling is a longing. I feel it as a longing in the heart, an urgency. We'll call it your divine purpose. I like the word soul mission. We all have a unique frequency that no one else has. We all have gifts that no one else has. And anyone who is divinely embodied on the earth plane now, and all of the light workers listening, you came to be of service, to help liberate the planet, to reclaim, that remembrance. You mentioned remembering, John, and that's what it is. It's a remembering. So it's not really something that you have to go out and get, right? It's just simply removing the layers that have accumulated over time that were blocking the awareness of this presence that's already within you. And that is the alchemical gold,
Yeah, and again, awareness around that, and a reminder of, again, the energies, the archetypes that are here they're not just stories, they're initiation, invitations, reminders.
Yes.
Of what's available. Oh, this is so good, Dana. You know what? I want to take some live callers, but I want to do the activation towards the end of the call.
Okay.
Actually, because I'm wondering what is going to ignite from that activation. And I want you guys to stew in the alchemy that takes place there as well. So we're going to get there in a little bit, maybe sooner rather than later, but I'm guided to go through live callers. So I'm going to promote some of y'all to panelists here and open it up. The rooster wants to get called on, but he's going to have to wait a little bit. And as we have people logging on here, Michelle writes, and maybe Michelle raised her hand also, but Michelle writes, I'm always looking for the right way and I need certainty, it seems, unfortunately. What's the thing about the right way and about having to have the right way come up?
Yes. Michelle, I guess just from experience, there is no right way. It's what, or wrong way. It's what you feel most powerfully in your heart. What moves you to tears in a good way, for example? What lights you up? What ignites your passion and your joy? It's a feeling nature to navigate to this soul mission. And like I say, those words may be weighty. Just you are being present on this earth right now is a huge gift to the planet, Michelle, and everyone else listening. You came as a volunteer to help liberate, to help the planetary. Gaia's already, Mother Earth is way along in her ascension. We are here now to assist our brothers and sisters moving through the hatch, as I say, opening the hatch to the rising new earth, not the sinking ship. That's old. We want to withdraw our attention from all that is not of the light, that's not serving our higher purpose. So I would say, in the spirit of the shaman, what makes you feel alive? You know, like Mary Oliver said, be willing to be dazzled. What dazzles you? I love that word, you know, and there was some, I can't guess it was Serge Diaghilev, he's an artist, but he said, he was a Russian empresario, he said, astonish me. What astonishes you? You know, there's such an immense, like I said, absolute aliveness within and without. And to be, it's a letting go. It's just a letting go and trusting where your heart leads you. Your heart is the commander and leader of your life on the ascension path.
And breathing into it and trusting it and seeing where it's so many times we move on from one thing to the next that we forget where that alchemy, where that shamanistic energy, that Christ energy, where the magic, if you will, has shown up.
Right, the magic.
And if you go back and take inventory, it's like, hold on a second, it's been there in all of these different times. Let me give it credit instead of saying it's not there, because we have such a quick way of forgetting sometimes.
Right. And judging, especially judging ourselves, you know, so we take that whip off the back, like, I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough, how come I'm not at this? Whatever you do, you're doing now, wherever you are, is valuable. And I understand we all want to grow, and we're all moved by that inner longing and urgency. And what John re-emphasized is that trusting. And remember what I said about the masters earlier, and I didn't finish this thought, was that Sai Baba said, and other ascended masters have said, when they walk the earth through time, the only difference between us and them is that their attention on God never wavers. So when we can consistently live in and through whatever your word is, spirit, God, the creator, source, we become an instrument. We allow ourselves to be used in the highest possible way, become an instrument of sacred service. And just because of who you are, not because of what you do, because of the frequency you hold, you become a healing presence. And people entrain. You can walk into a room, let's say you have just spent time with a friend who was down and out, and they left feeling uplifted. And they called you the next day and said, wow, I feel so much better. In that role, you were acting as an alchemist. You were helping to shift their consciousness, right, through your love and light. So
beautiful. I want to ask you to repeat the quote by Jesus to Magdalene. Marian, speak your truth. What was it?
He said, Miriam, speak. He called her Miriam. Miriam, speak in boldness.
And speak in boldness.
Give light upon everything. So that when we connect with the truth of who we are, I also want to, because John, you and I are very close to the Essenes, and you know they have been such guiding lights for me. I want to offer another saying from Yeshua that has helped me a lot in my life, especially when we go through the hard times, and we've all had them. And maybe you're going through a tough time now. That's okay. Remember what he said is, the seeker shall not stop until he or she finds, substitute she, please, if you would like. When he does find, he will be disturbed. Having been disturbed, he will be astonished. And then he or she will reign over everything. And people say, well, I don't want to be disturbed. Well, what he meant by being disturbed is that the disturbance is about, wow, the remembrance and the recognition of the fullness of who you are, which is a master of the universe. You are a living master of light. So then once we get through that process of, whoa, recognizing who we truly are, true divine power and presence, then we're astonished, because we think, oh my gosh, then we reconnect to these gifts that we've always had throughout time. And then reign is not coming from the ego, meaning reign over everything, meaning you then fully embody as the commander and leader of your life. You know that you are the cause and not the effect of everything happening to you.
Right. I love that quote. That's Book of Thomas, or is that the Emerald Tablets?
Book of Thomas.
Yeah, yeah. I knew it was one of them. And again, we're going to get into a little top Hermes energy, top energy here in a little bit. So y'all are going to want to experience that. Again, these quotes, these words, you speaking boldly, ignite a remembrance. Did y'all feel that when I asked her to repeat the quote? Could you not? It's like, yes. It's like a giving permission, or of course.
Permission, right. And we must give ourselves permission. Also, at the same time, as Michelle asked earlier, or this I feel refers to her question, we are always so incredibly supported and protected and guided by the masters, by your angels, by the beings of the higher realms, by your star families. Just know and feel comfort and safety in that support. And if you're listening to this call, you are drawn to the light. You hold the light. You anchor it for others. You share and emanate the light. So, of course, you would be everyone's protected and supported. You will be extra protected and supported.
Yeah. Yes. I feel so. I feel like nothing can touch me in that way. And if it does, it doesn't touch me in the way that it intends to touch me because of what I hold.
That's right. It's a sense of invincibility. And I want to say that when, like John said, when you feel this invincibility, you feel unstoppable. You are connected with your infinite, authentic being. It's not coming from ego in any way. It's coming actually from a place of awe and wonder and humility. Humility, heart-centeredness, and harnessing the mind in service to the heart are the 3 H's of the ascension process.
And it's the alchemy right there. You're the alchemist in that. Profound. This is so good, y'all. I love this. Let's get into the Q&A, and again, we'll get into the activation here in a little bit. Michelle, Dana's mentioned you a couple times. Let's get you to unmute. And welcome.
Well, that is. Thank you. I wasn't going to log on tonight because I just
and here you are. So there you go.
You know how I'm still affected so much by all the things going on outside of myself, and I thought, oh no, I want to see what's going on. And you really uplifted my spirit so much, because I'm always looking outside myself. I'm trying to find somebody to tell me my purpose, who I am. Am I a light worker? Am I not? Am I crazy? Am I too old to start this now that my career is done? And so just listening to you and feeling your energy, it just has really lightened me so much.
Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you, Michelle. It's great to have you here. Yes, you are a light worker. Very, very profound that you're here at this time. And just continue. I love your energy. You're so effervescent right now. So hold the effervescence. You know, it's like drinking a glass of fine champagne, just like that feeling. Wow. You know, you're floating on air. Like John said, he feels invincible. You are invincible. You are unstoppable. You are always connected with the mind of God. And one thing I wanted to say is that for us, for all of us, as we're all ongoing works in progress, to master our lives, we need to master what you're referring to, our internal state. We need to master our thoughts, right? And when we join our minds with divine mind, of God, spirit, source, whatever your word is, we alter our mental vibration so that we can create the outcomes we desire. And the more and more we do that, the faster those, what I call magnetizations versus manifestations, which is another fine word, but I like magnetize. The more we magnetize all that we want to experience and create. And one great practice that comes from the alchemical tradition, which I have used, is the art of polarization. It's one of the universal laws, hermetic laws. Hermetic means hidden or secret. Polarization simply means that it's a law of the universe. Everything has an opposite. So if you start to feel angry, for example, or fearful, let's say fearful for the time being. If you feel fearful for all the events happening outside, which is a natural human response, notice it, polarize your thoughts to courage and feel what it's like to have courage. If you feel angry, polarize your thoughts to compassion and the feeling state. What does that feel like? You can do it in an instant. If you feel sad, polarize your thoughts to joy. And in doing that, you neutralize the pendulum swing of emotions, which is what keeps everyone stuck, right? We want to be like this, at that still point, in the place of crystalline neutrality. So that's a very simple yet profound alchemical practice. Yeah.
Well, you know what really resonated so much is when you emphasize just being. It's because I'm so conditioned, and so are many of us, but to do, do. Right. And we can just be.
You can just, being, like I said, some of the most powerful light work is happening behind the scenes, privately, in your own home, where people are just so still. And in that silence and stillness, with their attention focused at their heart, and their unwavering connection to their own God presence and spirit source, whoa, they're just emanating so much light throughout the planetary grids, like the Tibetan monks, right? So our contemporary caves are our homes, and the ultimate cave is within the heart, when we really shift our attention there and live more fully through there, where the heart leads our way through everything.
Michelle, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
I got a little off track, but you inspired me.
No, it's wonderful. And to talk about that beingness also, for me, it's a practice, but it's not really a practice where it's a mental construct. It's an awareness that comes up of when I notice that I'm not being.
Right.
Where I'm trying to be something else other than being, where I'm getting ahead of myself or behind, and it's not that I'm doing something wrong. It's like, oh, I was just somewhere else. Oh, I feel anxiousness. Why anxious? Well, I'm not being. I'm projecting. I'm trying to create something that isn't here now, or I'm trying to relive something, or I'm trying to avoid something, and then you just center. And again, we ignite these archetypes. Also, we ignite the Christed consciousness and know that walks with you. You ignite the shaman, and that ignites with you. You walk and you notice plants, and you stop in nature. And what comes in, and this is coming in so strongly, you start seeing God in everything.
Yes.
We're so busy searching for God. And when you ignite these alchemical energies, you realize that God is in everything that you're giving your presence to. And when you stop and become aware of that, there's no looking for God.
That's right.
It's amazing. I love that you brought up the topic of beingness. It's so profound for me, and it's shifting. And in the shifting, for me personally, in the presence, I'm finding that it's my resonance, and you can talk about law of attraction, whatever, but there's those things that are of heart center for me are coming to me instead of me trying to pull them in.
Right. That's the magnetization.
Yeah.
Versus manifesting, which, like I said, for me, there's nothing wrong with manifesting. For me, it has more of a masculine feel because it's about doing. It's a directed energy, and that is great. They're equal. I'm not saying one's better. However, now as we, men and women especially, but men too, as they are coming along, move more into that divine feminine way of being. It's about, like John said, that stillness and the beingness, and you don't have to do anything, and you magnetize with a thought, with a feeling state, without attachment to those results, right? Yeah. And it just comes. It's an effortless, natural flow, and you begin to live in that more and more consistently. Yeah,
amazing. Again, Michelle, thank you for igniting this conversation. Yeah. Let's go to the caller, and we're gonna go through more callers tonight. Again, we're still doing the activation. We're gonna get to special. We have plenty of time. I just feel like we're extending today, just like breathing into it. So Deborah, I'm guided to call on you. Welcome to the show. And if you'll please unmute yourself.
Hi, thank
Hi.
you.
Yeah.
I was told in 2007 that I'm a light worker. And I have a question. What do you do when you feel so much? Is there something, if you come back to your heart, or what can you do? Because I feel animals, people,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So that's
Yeah,
my question.
a great question, Deborah. Yes, the empaths. So I would suspect that all light workers are empaths, and some like you feel so deeply. I mean, that is the gateway to our gifts, that sensitivity. And it can feel like a big responsibility and sometimes feel like a burden. So what you want to do, and the word detach, sometimes it's misunderstood. So you want to detach from those maybe beings or things that are perhaps, if this empathic state is causing you to be thrown off center, especially if it's bothering you, if it feels heavy and burdensome, simply just remember, I said that state of crystalline neutrality. It means that we're not attached to the feelings and the emotions, right? And that is just, again, that beingness, the stillness, knowing that you are a healing presence, that anyone who comes into your presence will receive a healing simply because of the frequency you hold. You may not know. You could be in a grocery store and someone would receive healing. So take comfort in that you are, right, assisting. You are helping those for which you feel such empathy. You don't want that to move into what I call that pendulum swing of emotion, because that just throws us off from the center that John was talking about, where we simply notice where our attention is in every moment. It's that awareness, and we just shift our attention. And at the still point of the Sacred Heart and High Heart, which is the Ascension Gateway, and I say heart and I include both of them in that, the High Heart Ascension Gateway, we move beyond feeling. We move into a state of being. And love is a state of being. It's beyond a feeling. Joy is a state of being. So they don't throw us off center when we consistently reside in those states of being. So whatever you can do. For example, if you're feeling something weighing heavy on your heart, you could become the shaman, take a walk through nature, tune into the enchantment of the land, to the awe and the wonder that we talked about. And remembering that childlike joy that resides in all of us. How can you play? Bring yourself into the lightness of heart. Find something that's whimsical and playful. And that will move in.
I have a question for every empath on this call. And I'm just throwing a what if out. So you pick up on a lot of energy. It can seem overwhelming, and you pick up on pain and suffering and all this. Do you pick up on the joy? Do you pick up on the love? Do you pick up on the fun and the play? And if not, why not? Why is it that we attune to what seems to be discordant?
Yes.
But we're not paying attention to those places that, oh, wait, I want some of that. Hold on a second. And then asking, I think also just as a tool that I would suggest in my very masculine energy with it, as the energy comes up and awareness comes up of a lot coming through, or someone's emotions, is why am I feeling this? And can I choose not to? And when we tune into our why, that is for me a maturation point, an initiation for the empath to get into a state of beingness through the awareness and the practice, so that you're not a victim of, but you're in co-creation and relationship and of choice. And then the alchemy of empathy and compassion can come in without the need to fix something that you think is broken.
Right. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So true. Wow. It's all about choice.
It's powerful, and it's a practice and an awareness, and being okay with the discomfort of feeling for a while, just because we want to do this. It's like, okay, it's uncomfortable. Let me sit with it. You're not fragile. It's not going to break you. That's love as a language running through you. It's like, oh, how can I bring my love to it rather than my fear?
Right. Right.
You're a light worker.
Right. And the fear causes anxiety.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah.
And the thoughts also agitate the heart. So they're connected there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's so important, that playfulness and the joyfulness. And, you know, as we move into the 5D frequencies, everything is about frequency.
Mhm.
We are leaving behind the old paradigm of suffering and struggle, of lack and limitation.
Mm.
We're moving into a frequency band of peace and love and harmony, right, for all beings. So we're moving back and forth now. We take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So the more that we can reside in the 5D, which happens over time, the less we'll be able to track back into the 3D density.
Mhm. Amazing. Thank you. A great question, Deborah. I'm so glad that you asked, because it's such an important conversation. All right, we still have the activation. We've got more Q&A, and we have to go through the special offer with Dana. It's to get a one-on-one session with Dana. That's a gift, and for the price, but to have these other tools for alchemy and for access and to go on these journeys, it's absolutely incredible. So y'all click on the special offer link. It's in the chat box. Follow along as Dana expresses what's coming forth from the energies. Even on the page, you're going to be taken as she describes it. So I recommend you go on that journey with us while we're here and waiting for the activation as well. So again, the link's in the chat box, or open up a new browser if you can't find it for whatever reason, and just type in beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Dana27, and it'll take you to that same page. And Dana, I am going to share my screen here, and if you don't mind, guide us through what you've put together for us here.
Oh, sure. Well, this is my program called Sacred Site Journeys of Light. And, you know, it was such a joy, speaking of joy, to create this, John. And it's based on my on-site experience at many sacred sites around the world over many years. And I wanted to give people the opportunity to join in the meditations, the activations, the sacred esoteric wisdom teachings of all of these sacred sites, energetic upgrades, initiations, ceremony, all of these modules, these audios, which come actually with visuals, which I was able to do. So people have said that that has helped them a lot. It also comes with reading lists, but I would recommend just save those for last. Just, you don't want to be in your head when you take these journeys. And this is to help people to accelerate their self-mastery and their ascension process, to create healing in their own lives and in the lives of others, to become an instrument of planetary service, to find more joy and fulfillment. And so all of these benefits have been really infused into these audios. So we go in package A to speaking of the Christ archetype, to 2 journeys that will ignite and expand, reignite, I shall say. We all have the Holy Christ presence. Reignite and expand your Holy Christ presence as you connect with the Essenes in the Holy Land at some very powerful vortexes of light, including Nazareth, Mount Carmel, which was one of the epicenters of the Essene community, to the Sea of Galilee. Then, and I call it infinite love because I had some profound, miraculous experiences and massive heart openings in the Holy Land. I share all of that with you. And then we go to visit with Mary Magdalene and the Cathars in the south of France. I've been there many times. This is to assist you in embodying your divine feminine wisdom and power as you connect more deeply with the sublime high heart energy of Mary Magdalene. So she's such a catalytic presence. And once you do, she will always be with you. And then the Cathars, who created a utopian community of light on the cliffs of Montségur in the Languedoc region of south of France. They've always inspired me. So you have those two audios with the visuals and a 30-minute phone call with me to gain more clarity about your most pressing concerns and your steps forward. And then in the package B, we go into more sacred journeys.
Well, then I want to interrupt you real quick. Y'all, package A has the 30-minute reading, by the way. I just want to clarify that for you. For $97, you get taken into these sacred journeys and you have a one-on-one with Dana for package A, which is just phenomenal that you're offering that in that way. I'm always so grateful for your generosity. And yes, and then package B gets to go deeper into the sacred journeys. So tell us more.
Yes, thank you, John. Yes, so then we continue. And I want to say that people who have traveled with me in the physical on my retreats and sacred journeys and have also listened to these modules have said that these sacred sites transmit just as powerfully in the quantum field. And so also you don't have the distractions, right? And you save time and resources. So there are many benefits to traveling in this way. And especially now as travel opens up, you know, this would be a great foundation for you to have as a guide, should you resonate with these journeys, as to visit these sites at a level that you wouldn't normally do, let's say on, you know, certainly not on a regular tour. So then we go into package B with additional journeys. We go to what's item 4? We go to the mysteries of ancient Avalon, where we go on an energetic search for the Holy Grail based again on my on-site experience. We go to Tintagel to connect with Merlin. We go to very powerful sacred sites of Glastonbury Abbey, of the Rosslyn Chapel, the Tour, Chalice Well in Glastonbury. This is all to help you reconnect again with your Christ presence and to really find within yourself the meaning of the Holy Grail as you walk the ley lines to be of planetary service. Then we move into the stargates of Bolivia and Peru. So the energy, John has just been to Peru, so he knows, oh, wow. I mean, the energy of our planet in this new paradigm is shifting, already has shifted to this part of the world, which the Inca prophesied, this new Pachacuti, this new dawn, where the energy is all about the wisdom of the heart, about reconnecting with the divine feminine within all of us. And so we go to the planetary birthing portal of Lake Titicaca, where I had a very profound experience. We connect with your Lemurian roots and with your star families. We go to the island of the sun and island of the moon to work more on that sacred intermarriage of divine masculine and feminine. And then we also go to in Peru. The second part of Stargates of Bolivia and Peru is about going to Peru. This photo is the energetic portal of Aramu Muru. It is, I stood there. Have you been there, John? Oh my God. It really is a threshold into a whole new dimension. I mean, it has been said that shamans have actually disappeared through that portal. And you're going to connect again with your multidimensional aspects. You're going to connect very deeply with Mother Earth and your starseed lineage. Then after the Aramu portal, in this audio, we go to Machu Picchu, which is a planetary stargate. We spend time in the Amazon jungle of Peru, which, wow, really brings you into greater heights of self-mastery, as I myself experienced.
Yeah.
And then we go to the Mayan temples of light and transformation. The Mayan, the Maya are intergalactic way showers of the new earth, and their transformational wisdom is hugely helpful to us today. So we have two parts to the new human and the Mayan temples of light, where you activate the new human template on the new earth at places in the first part at the Yucatan, like Chichen Itza, Oxkentalk, and Uxmal, which really was part of the Mayan mystery school. And here we learn how to metaphorically shapeshift into Kukulkan, which is a feathered serpent uniting all of these opposites within itself. The Kukulkan is the Christed being. So that's part one of the new human Mayan temples of light. And then we go to these journeys were very profound for me, to go into the jungles of Chiapas, to visit Palenque, one of the most powerful Mayan sites, and then to Tikal in the highlands of Guatemala, these very remote sites. This also will help you to go deeper into the transformational wisdom of the Maya, and particularly at Palenque and Tikal. I feel like I learned more about time, about the construct of time, about how to transcend time and space, to time travel, and to tap more deeply into my shamanic power and my divine creator abilities.
For sure. Did I ever share with you, Dana, my experience in Chichen Itza?
No.
I have to share this with y'all because it's so relevant to this package and it's really where we're going. And I have been wanting to go to Palenque, Tikal, and into Guatemala also, and I haven't. So this is powerful, and it's going to be an integration for me as well for what happened in Chichen Itza. So long story short, I got into Chichen Itza, into the main temple, the large pyramid, and guidance like, you need to go sit down and meditate. I sat down and started meditating, and algorithms, formulas were just being downloaded for 30 minutes, and I didn't understand what it was. And I asked, what do I do? And they said, just receive, just receive. After 30 minutes, I knew I was done. I was like, okay, complete. Stood up and asked, what is this? And they said, time travel codes. What do I do with it? You'll know. So that you're speaking of that, and we've never had this conversation. No. It is strong, and I'm getting the chills as I'm talking to you guys about this. And I don't know when I'll get to Tikal, to Palenque. I know that I will, but to have the energy accessible through here is something that I'm going to participate in for sure.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, the downloads, John, that's profound. And you're right, we don't have to know what it is, but those light codes keep streaming in. Very, very powerful. The Maya, wow. I mean, they're still present with us, like the Essenes, that, you know, all of us who are attracted to these sites, we're part of those soul groups.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna say, and I can share downloads that I received in Peru and Lake Titicaca, in the portal, the ones I received in southern France through the guitar and Mary's Cave and all that. It's just, this is awesome. This is awesome. And I didn't mean to interrupt, but I had to share that with you guys because it's real. There's you have the experience. No one can tell you that it isn't real. It is real in a realm that our truth has been subjugated, and it's time for this truth to come out again. It just is.
Thank you. That's so true, John, to really acknowledge and allow that divine power that we are, you know, to be that master of light. You are worthy of this. And it has been said that these soul groups would return at this time of the great shift of the ages, which the Maya and other ancient peoples predicted. So if you're drawn to these sites, you're part, like I said, part of the soul group. And then finally we go to mystical Tibet, which, whoa, talk about hard travel to sacred places. I went to Tibet when I was 40 because somehow, which was a long time ago, and I decided that I wanted to be on the roof of the world when I was 40. But that was such a profound experience, visiting those monasteries, yes, experiencing the plight of the Tibetan peoples, which, speaking of empaths, that was not easy. However, because of the transcendent Buddhist wisdom, which is so accessible, where the veils are so thin, I was able to really move into such a deep peace and serenity at the Drepung and Ganden monasteries, at the Jokung temple in Lhasa, at the Potala, which was the residence. That's the Potala you're seeing of the Dalai Lamas throughout the ages. So, and, you know, there is a transmission from the Waisak Valley, which is where the Ascended Masters meet on the Taurus full moon every May to offer a divine dispensation of love and light to the world. So that is the last journey in there. And again, you have visuals for all of these. And there are two bonuses with this package, which is an audio recording of a talk that I've given many times at the New Life Expo in New York and the Conscious Life Expo in LA and other places about the healing power of sacred sites. So I really go into what does a sacred site mean? How, you know, what is the sacred geometry? How do you receive healing and entrain with them? And there's also a meditation at another sacred site at the end of that audio. And then I put in, because it felt like something was missing, I had to put in my Portal to Paradise online retreat in Egypt because John and I were talking previously. I mean, there is nothing more powerful than Egypt. I mean, I really feel like it's the motherboard of sacred sites. And I've been there 4 times. I take you into the Great Pyramid for a quote, death and resurrection journey. You go to the Sphinx. We're going to have a little meditation in the Hall of Records tonight. You go to all of the temples of light and transformation that the ancient Egyptian mystery school initiates walked through. So you follow them in their footsteps, including the Temple of Isis, Dendera, the Hathor Temple, Abydos, the Temple of Osiris, and others. And so that is 3 audios, and you have access to that as well, including the phone call that came with package A, 30-minute call with me, which is often magical, very serendipitous, and spontaneous. Yeah.
Amazing. What a fantastic package. And again, to be taken into the residence, that's so powerful. Someone wrote that they love your exuberance and the way you're transmitting. And I wanted to share that for your benefit, but it's also, I wanted to highlight why. And I'm going to speak about you like you're not here, Dana.
Okay, okay. Sean.
But Dana can bring forward that enthusiasm because she's someone who's experienced and embodied. And once you experience and embody this, you can't help but to share it with other people with your knowingness of what's possible. And so I understand intimately where that comes from. And I'm so grateful for it because again, in your beingness, you're inviting others into that beingness as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so beautiful. And I'm glad that you all wrote that in the comment section. The special offer, you all know what to do. Get the private session, go into the journeys, join me in Palenque, join me back in France, join me back in Egypt. Let's go on this journey together. Take advantage of the special offer. Again, the link is in the chat box or beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Dana27. And Melanie, you're just popping out for me. Hi, welcome to the call. Let's get you to unmute.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah, it's welcome. Okay. What's your question for Dana?
Thank you. I am gonna try to do this without crying. My life has changed dramatically in the last year for the positive. I came out of feeling like I was never good enough for heaven, and I no longer believe in that anymore. So I've come a really long way. But I have been asking and I have been reaching out to any of my spirit guides, to any of my ancestors, to anybody that'll listen, and asking them to come in for over a year now. I have a deep connection to the sky. I've seen my orbs. I've actually even recorded them on my phone. I feel a deep connection to both the sun and the moon. And I know that they have been with me through so much, but I don't dream. I can't visualize these lights. I go through meditations all the time, and I can't even visualize the white light above my head. So I just don't know why I can't do any of that yet.
Yeah. Well, you know, everyone has different gifts. So do you feel things deeply? Some people are more kinesthetic, where their bodies pick up the energy and the information. Would you say you're that way?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's okay, my dear. Don't be hard on yourself. Some people, I've heard this from other people, that they can't see, but they can feel and they can move, and their body is a barometer, right, of the light, which is information, and the truth coming in and the energies. So I want to say also about connecting with your guides. So yes, we have so much support from the higher realms of light, and always remember, however, that it is through our higher self that we are connecting to these higher realms, to these higher beings. So ultimately, if you want to take it to the wall, as I say, knowing in a deeply embodied cellular way that we are all one, ultimately, we are the masters, they are us. So focus on your own inner knowing, on your own, through your heart center, your holy Christ self, which is the expression of your I am presence moving through the world, will give you access to everything everywhere when you reside there. And trust the gifts that you do have.
Yeah. Amazing. It's funny. And I just want to get, it may be extreme, but again, we do these comparison things, and
Right.
I'm going to match your energy, Melanie, and I'm going to throw something preposterous out there. Kinda. Why is it that Picasso can paint so well and I can't? Oh, if I can't like Picasso, then I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. I can't, it's just, if I can't do that, then I am less than everybody else because I can't paint like Picasso. It's like I'm irredeemable. I have no good qualities. I'm gonna keep trying to channel. I'm gonna keep trying to paint. I'm gonna keep trying to do it. Nope, it's just not coming. There's something wrong with me. Don't get into the communities where the comparison is about that. Those are not the places for you. Channel, visualize, do this, where I'm going to teach you to do this. If that's not your vibe, if you're a baseball player trying to play basketball, don't try to play basketball. You're a baseball player. Find residents.
I don't know if it's about comparison, really. It's just more about my deep desire to hear them. I guess it's more about my desire than about anything else.
And
Well,
residents.
that's all you need is your intention. So keep holding the intention, and it will come. The messages, you might not hear them in terms of voices, but you'll receive the information in the way that you receive it.
Data, I want to share also, because I had an experience quite a few years ago where I was told that the way that I perceived my ability to tap into the future, my guide said, you're not going to be able to hear us, and you're going to go through a period where you think we have left you, and we haven't. And what they were leading me into, and I won't go too long in this, it's like, how can you experience awe and wonder if you already know what the outcome is going to be? How can you experience discovering you if you're constantly trying to discover you through us? And it shut down, and it was lonely, and it was confusing. In my dreams, I used to dream all the time, just gone. It's like, what's happened to my dreams? What happened to my connection? And there was a period of adjusting to feeling alone and not as connected in that way. And there was just something new that I was being rewired. And I don't get the messages in the same way that I used to anymore. But my connection, my direct connection to God, to the divine, the knowingness, the beingness, is so much better than the hedging that goes on through my dreams or trying to know what's going to happen because my guides are guiding me. It's that direct connection. It's worth the ride.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I hope that helps.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. And it's hard. Dana, you were going to add to that?
No, I agree. I think that was beautifully said. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And again, it was one of those experiences that on one of these sacred journeys to Manchester that came up. All right, let's go to another caller, and then we'll go into the activation. And let me see here. Pierina, it's been a long time since you've been on. Welcome.
Hi, John.
Hi.
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 Hello. Hi, Dana. Nice to meet you. Yeah, I've been drawn to sacred sites for a long time, and I had powerful activations on Chichen Itza where my feet were literally on fire. It was wild. And Mount Shasta, light language came through my hands. But you know, I've even been guided to create like a sacred site travel guide thing, because in the future that's what, you know, my heart desires. And I even downloaded the name, which is called Travel Adventure Tours. Or Sacred Adventure Tours. And so my guides told me to buy the domain name. I only have the name. I bought the name for like $15.99. You know, but you know, the finances are not there to do these things. The shy to put myself out there, just all these things, I just feel completely stopped. And maybe I'm going through what John went through, where all the guys just sort of, disconnected for a while. I don't know. And I've also gone through some of my own stuff through the pandemic, but I'm just wondering if there's any light at the end of the tunnel or anything that might.
Absolutely. Well, the fact that you took the action is huge. So, you have the domain name, you came up with the idea. And yes, we all move through different periods, which John was talking about, of integration, where there's so much going on inside of us now as we are being rewired from a carbon-based being to a crystalline-based being of light. And so to be gentle with ourselves, to allow that time for integration, because it's likely that you have moved to a new level of consciousness, a new frequency. And sometimes we do have to stay in that kind of void, right? Where you feel like you're in the void, and that's necessary for that integration. So my dear, trust that that's a wonderful name. You got the URL, the domain, and now you're just simply being and allowing the uncertainty, again, without that whip to the back, which we all do, it's okay. And so in that space of silence and stillness, which you find yourself in, you're one of those light workers working behind the scenes, emanating so much light into the planetary grids. What you most desire, what you're most passionate about, you will magnetize. Just keep focusing, keep your intent clear. And again, trust more. You haven't done anything wrong. You have not taken one false step, because to say no to one single aspect of your path is to unravel the whole thing.
I think I unraveled it though, because I got to the point where I was able to help some people with COVID.
Yeah.
And when I put myself out there on Facebook to say if anyone needs help with it, and I literally got laughed at. I had people telling me, take that post off and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like I just went inward and disconnected and just stopped everything.
Right. And I'm talking about the path of your soul's journey through time. You didn't unravel it, but that's okay. You put yourself out there, and maybe that wasn't the time. Maybe it wasn't the time. And now just keep focusing on what that longing is. The longing, it sounds like, is to create these journeys and this manual that you talked about. So we have to test the waters. We take one step in and one step out, and it's part of the path.
Yeah. I have to share, and it hasn't come up so much lately, but on the fan Facebook page for John Burgos and Beyond the Ordinary, there are some contrarian comments that were not kind, that came in from religious groups or people who were very linear, or about my appearance, or about these other things, and very much having very strong opinions about what I should or shouldn't be, who I should or shouldn't have on the show, what was correct as far as religion and God and Christ, and how I spoke about it. And all I could be was in the center of my truth, regardless of what their truth was. And rather than fight with it, it's like, all right. And there's a couple of people that there was some correspondence back and forth, and a couple of people were open, and a lot of them weren't. And that's okay. But when you speak your truth and you feel it, Dana, I think, and these sacred sites I think are magnifiers for alchemizing this knowing energy of the Christed consciousness of the shaman. The village can tell the shaman he's crazy because he's traveling and seeing these things, but the shaman knows where he's going.
That's right. That's right. That's so true, John. So much about the trust and really relying on your own inner authority, your own inner wisdom. It doesn't matter, like John said, doesn't matter what anyone says. And that is the path of the Christ and the shaman and the alchemist.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let's get into the activation. There's something that I want to get into, but there's so much. Yeah. So much good. You're welcome, Dana. Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all, before Dana goes into it, again, the special offer, the link's in the chat box. Get the session with Dana. I highly recommend it, and go into the sacred sites, and the activations are tremendous. And yes, these activations, someone asked, can you go in there remotely? Do you have to be present? And like Dana said, people who went on the journey and did the recorded sessions of these activations where you get to do it on your own time, got as much benefit, if not more, from being in the energy, right?
Right. Yes. Without the distractions, whatever, tourism and vendors and all of it.
Yeah.
More streamlined. Yeah. More
Sweet.
direct.
Again, y'all take advantage of it. It is there.
Yeah.
And Dana, let's get into the activation, please.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to close my eyes as we travel out through the quantum field together. So let's begin by grounding deeply into your body and into the crystalline core of Mother Earth, letting go of all cares, worries, and concerns of this day and the past days. Your attention focused fully at your heart center. Let's make some I am decrees to sanctify this activation. As we say together, I am presence, be present now. I am the mighty, I am, I am. I am a light of God. I am that I am. I am, I am, I am. And now with your attention focused still fully at your heart center, let's travel together to the Giza Plateau in Egypt. You touch down now before the Great Sphinx. The sky is an azure blue and the desert sands are blowing lightly across your skin. You stand in awe before this immense mythical figure of light, the Great Sphinx, with the body of a lion and the head of a pharaoh, that has stood here on the Giza Plateau for millennia as the enigmatic gatekeeper of the Egyptian mysteries. The Sphinx represents both our human and divine natures. There are passageways and tunnels beneath the Sphinx that lead to the Great Pyramid of Egypt, which is not far from where you are now standing, and then to all of the other Egyptian temples of light and transformation, through which ancient mystery school initiates proceeded on their quest for enlightenment. Also, significantly, the legendary Hall of Records, containing the esoteric wisdom of all that is said to lie beneath the right paw of the Sphinx, not far from where you are now standing, waiting to reveal its secrets to all those who are ready. At this point on your ascension path, you are ready. New insights into your soul mission await you inside the Hall of Records. You now proceed slowly and ceremoniously with great focus and intention through the two paws of the Sphinx. You turn slightly right into an energetic doorway. You walk through this doorway into the Hall of Records. You are now standing in a magnificent chamber of light containing crystal tablets and scrolls from ancient Atlantis and beyond. You are guided to one specific crystal tablet that is encoded with your soul's destiny. As you place your hand on this crystal tablet, You feel an energetic rush through your entire being. This energy is transmitting sacred information about your past, present, and future incarnations. Take a few moments now in silence to absorb this transmission. And now you open your heart even more to receive this infusion of divine light and timeless divine wisdom, taking you even deeper into your sacred truth. Perhaps your body is vibrating with all of the light you are now absorbing. You have connected to a holographic universal library of light. The light codes continue to stream into your hands, your body, your subtle bodies, and your entire energy field, connecting you with the wisdom of all that is and interacting with your DNA. You are aligning with your immortal divine blueprint, your true divine power and purpose. With your hands still on this crystal tablet encoded with your soul's destiny, you tune in. What is your new soul mission now? How can you more fully embody it? Take a few moments now to receive the answer. Just then, Master Thoth appears in a blast of light. He is the ibis-headed Egyptian god of wisdom, a high priest from ancient Atlantis. You are in awe of his magnificent light as he stands before you. Does he have a message for you now about your higher purpose, your inner longing, about your next steps forward in your soul's destiny? If so, open now to receive his infinite wisdom. You feel complete now with your time here in the Hall of Records. And with deep gratitude to Master Self and your own divine power, divine love, divine wisdom, divine purpose, the new clarity you have received here, you then leave this hall of records gleaming with another worldly light and make your way back out through the energetic doorway and between the paws of the Sphinx as you now prepare to travel back slowly to where you are now, in the present moment, in the here and now, as you ground deeply into your body, so fully present, so fully alive. And so it is. Anasha, Ananasha, Ananasha.
Everybody, welcome back. And so it is.
So it is.
Oh, what a journey. Thank you so much, Dana.
Oh, you're welcome.
Wow. It's, this will be on the replay. Come back and visit this. And as we integrate this transmission, as these activation, perhaps when we go back in it during the replay and the recording of it, is there anything that you would suggest to help us with the activation of what you just discovered in these crystal tablets?
Yes, would be just to be present, to let go of any preconceived notions, of any attachments to a specific outcome, to just be present. And I love to travel into the Hall of Records. This is something you can do at any time. And there is always new information, new energy, depending on where you are on your ascension path. Remember, we're all in this infinite expansion, right, of light. We're moving not only higher in the ascension ladder, but we're moving horizontally as well as our hearts continue to expand. So enter the Hall of Records again with that childlike delight and wonder and discovery.
Amazing, amazing. What a fantastic call. What a journey. And just y'all on the call. It's so wonderful to feel you and your questions and the energy that you're all emanating in community. It's so, you can feel the light. Like when we started, as you are a light worker, there's like no doubt you're on this call. You just know the love that you're emanating. So thank you for what you all do and how you do it. And Dana, thank you for what you do and how you do it. And again, for being such a beautiful embodiment of the wisdom of all these places and so much more that we barely even tapped into today. It's a gift to be in your field in this way.
Oh, thank you, John. It's an honor to be with you and your listeners, really, with this community of light. It's just a joy. And thank you so much for having me back. I loved it.
Yes, I love you. I love you all. Yes. Thank you so much.
Much love to everyone. Good night. Have a wonderful evening.
Good night, everybody.